Okay, is that what's going on? All right. Waiting for Dan to show as well, unless he's in the room or else I'll see him.
Here. No, Dan's here.
Dan's
You're
here,
sitting
okay.
right next to Gary. Can you see him?
Right next to Gary. Gary, fantastic. Okay, is that what's going on? All right. Waiting for Dan to show as well, unless he's in the room or else I'll see him.
Here. No, Dan's here.
Dan's here.
Dan Spring in the house. He needs to wait. Paul?
Is it the recording?
No, I need to be able to do this on my own. No, not the top of the office, it's all about my. You know,
Okay, so we're having some technical difficulties, but we're going to open the meeting anyway at this point. I'm going to call the Board of Selectmen portion of this meeting to order. I'm Bob Carlson, the first selectman. We have Nicole Porter, selectwoman, and Brett Mastriani, selectman. Paul, do you want to call the Board of Finance meeting to order?
Yeah, thank you, Bob. Paul Simons, Chairman, Board of Finance, with the call of this session to order. In the room are Mike Anderson, Dan Smith, Gary Nino, Sarah Nelson is available, Carl Johnson. Is Amy Friend in the room, please?
No, she's not
No.
going to be at the meeting.
She's not there. Okay, great, thank you. And Winona Burdine online. And for this joint meeting tonight, if there's no objections, Bob Carlson, our first selectman, has offered to facilitate through the session. If no one has no concerns with that, please, Bob, go right ahead.
Okay, I got the concerns. All right, so we're going to start with the public comment. Is there any public comment here in the audience or online? Okay, seeing no public comment, we'll move on with our first presentation tonight, which will be presentation by the Wheeler Library. Looks like Kate Parento's here and Emily Noyes is here. Thanks. You just take that microphone.
Well, hello, and thank you for inviting us. For those of us who have not been introduced, I'm Kate Parento, and I'm currently serving as the president of the Wheeler Library Board of Trustees, and I'm here with Emily Noyes, who is our children's librarian. We're here to first figure out how this works. Which button advances it? Do you want to just, we'll just say next slide? Next slide. We're here to give just a brief history of the library for those of you who are not familiar with Wheeler Library, and talk about how we've done fundraising in the past, what we're doing today, and to take a look at what other libraries in the state of Connecticut are doing. Next slide. So Wheeler Library was built in 1900 and it was funded by the Wheeler family. At that time, it served as both a secondary school and a public library for several decades. Today, Wheeler Library serves the community as an association library, which means that it's governed by a board of trustees and it is not a municipal agency. Next slide. And we have an endowment. In the late 1800s, the Wheeler family left an endowment of $20,000, which has grown to about $1.7 million today. And that's managed by the Board of Trustees. Prior to 2006, before our board became more active, the endowment was used as the primary funding source for the Wheeler Library. As an endowment is not the purpose of an endowment is not, to fund an operating budget. The new trustees moved to make changes in the library's operations. And in 2006, the library began sending an annual appeal request to its patrons for help with the operating budget, and also began in earnest with several different types of fundraising. Today, the interest from the endowment is tapped if we need to fill in the gap in our operating budget, but that is the only way we are using our endowment. Next slide.
The annual appeal is the primary revenue source that supports our operating budget. The current annual appeal goal for this year was $75,000, and the library currently has about $62,000 raised to date with our fiscal year ending in June of 2022. Now, while the annual appeal is a very important component of that budget, we really believe that we've reached a level of annual giving that probably will not increase significantly over time. Next. Just to give a little bit of a comparison about two types of libraries in Connecticut. Out of the 176 library facilities, 102 are municipal libraries and 74 are association libraries, which Wheeler Library is a part of. Okay. In the early 1990s, the library was receiving $500 a year from the town. And over time, the town has definitely increased their financial support. In 21-22, the library received $65,000 from the town. Still, in comparison to other association libraries in Connecticut, Wheeler Library receives just a fraction of what other libraries receive from their town.
Next slide. So our budget request, this year we've put in for $85,000 from the town. So if you look at, and I believe last year we received $65,000 and the year prior $55,000. So in the last several years, as we have been strategizing to partner more with the town, as other towns are doing in the state of Connecticut, we have had incremental increases. Looking at the statewide average contribution to libraries, this is data that's from the Connecticut State Library. It's public data. They compile it annually. The statewide average contribution to libraries is 1.15% of total municipal revenue. So by comparison, for example, in 2019, Wheeler Library received 0.27% of North Stonington's municipal revenue. So that ranked us, North Stonington, in the bottom quarter of association libraries. Of 74 libraries, we're in the bottom 25% in terms of the support, financial support from the town. Taking a look at this year's town budget and applying that statewide average of 1.15%, Wheeler Library would stand to receive over $200,000 from the town budget. This year, we are asking for $85,000 to help us close the gap in our operating budget. We'll get to our operating budget in a few slides. But just to reiterate, since 2006, when our board became very active and took us away from that model of using the endowment to fund the library, we started with the annual appeal and we've done a tremendous amount of fundraising, but this is just not a sustainable model. And our goal is to get more in line with what other towns are receiving from, other libraries, are receiving from their towns. Next slide.
So we wanted to talk a little bit about the local impact that the library makes. The library serves every single resident in North Stonington. And here are some examples of things that we do each and every day for our patrons. We help patrons renew their commercial driving license online. We assisted patrons with filling out an online job application, gave out tax forms, helped people scan and fax and send things to their physician and law offices, made deliveries to people, to homebound residents of large print books. We find resources for patrons, some with recent medical diagnoses and one for a child that was dealing with the loss of a loved one. These were all things that I myself did in the past couple of weeks alone. And, on a daily basis, we talk with our patrons. We listen and guide them to services and resources. We help them connect with other people, which has been especially important during this COVID time. We're so proud to say that we really build community every day. So we're going to talk a little bit about our operating budget. This year's library operating budget hovers around $200,000. We have 4 employees, one of which is full-time with no benefits. The library is currently open 35 hours a week over 6 days. We'd really hope to increase our afternoon hours to better serve our student population. But at our current level of funding, we really can't make any of those types of improvements to our library services. And talk a little bit about our building, our remarkable building. The operating budget also includes maintaining this now century-old building. A recent surveyor who examined the building said it was in remarkable condition for a building of its age, 1900, and we agree. And this is largely due to the board's close oversight and care of this beloved structure. There are many here coming up. I'll talk as they fill in. But these are ways that we host and engage the community. The print is very small, but we've offered curbside pickup and delivery starting in COVID and continuing even through today. We offer children's programming, children's yoga, and story time. We have unique programs like the Seed Lending Library. And in years past, we've had evening programs, shown movies. We try to collaborate with other groups in town like the Historical Society. We host Selectmen debates, Girl Scout meetings, holiday townwide open houses. We have a new arts corridor over the past several years, which showcases local artwork and host weekly AA meetings and knitting circles. We have high school open mic nights, garden club meetings. We partner and collaborate with the elementary school, and they walk over for a little field trip every month. So I get to see those kids every month, and it's a great partnership between us and the schools. We have that wonderful tradition of the high school graduation on the lawn and a number of municipal meetings being held at the library. We could probably fill another page, but we thought we'd stop there.
So looking at our operating budget, this first slide is the operating, the income side of it. This is completely different than the one I had sent over. Yeah, but anyway, I mean, in terms of how the pie is, but you can see the biggest piece of the pie does come from our annual appeal. We have it in our budget for $75,000 this year. We're at 62 right now. I'm not sure if we're going to make it. Can see we received $65,000 from the town of North Stonington. And then other revenue comes from library fundraising events, grants, fines, faxes, fees, a little bit of rental income. That leaves us with this year with a gap of 33,000. So even if we had 85,000, you can see that we wouldn't have, been able to fill our gap this year with support from the town. Okay, next slide. And so this is our expense side. By far the biggest expenses are payroll. And then we have after that utilities, which include the oil, the electric, the computers, telephone, 16,000 of insurance. We have 16,000 in library materials, which is, an area where we'd like to be able to spend more money. That is double of what it was last year because we've joined a new consortium this year. We made the decision to do this, which just expanded our offerings to our townspeople exponentially and also made accessing materials so much easier. People have been really enjoying this this new consortium that we're a part of now, which is very exciting. It's the type of thing we want to continue to be able to do to offer more to our townspeople. Okay, and you can't read this, but our budget is just under $200,000. Next slide. Over the years, we've done our due diligence and we've done, improvements to the building. Gary, who's sitting over there, has certainly been a big part of many of these. We had a roof abatement and replacement, which the town helped support. We had a flood in the basement. We were able to restore the entire lower level. We've renovated the laboratory facilities. We did a very large project, where we got a grant and we matched the grant to replace and restore the windows in the entire building. And the town also supported that effort. We just recently finished repointing the entire building. We created the arts corridor in the center staircase, which is now an arts gallery, which if anyone hasn't visited, I encourage you to. Right now we're featuring local artists, as Emily had said. We've restored the original wooden front doors. And as many of you have heard, I'm sure we're currently planning a large-scale modernization of the facility, which is going to include an overhaul of our HVAC system, which is badly needed, especially bringing cooling to the second floor. And with this renovation project, we'll be improving and renovating and refreshing the interior so that we can provide more services and also expand our programming. So our request, as we said, our ask to the town this year was $85,000. And we also asked the town to continue to partner with us in the strategy that we have to be more in line with what's happening with other libraries in the state of Connecticut, where the financial support from the town is more in line with what's happening in other state libraries. Town libraries. And then last, we have, just to show our current board of trustees. I'm Kate Parento, the president, and we have Marietta Anderson, Ben Bueller, John Edwards, Ellen Flannery Schroeder, and Ellen Spring on our board. Gary Anino is a past president and emeritus, and Barbara Deindorfer Young is also an emeritus. And Amy Kennedy is our library director. She's been with us for over 30 years. And Emily Noyes has recently joined the library as the children's librarian. And we're just going to end with a video, which if you don't mind pressing play, and then we'll take questions. At the bottom, there should be a put your cursor to the white part in the bottom. I can see it. No, all right. Well, it was a little feel-good ending, but we'll just take questions.
Thank you. Thanks, Kate. Thanks, Emily. So are there any questions from the Board of Finance members or the Board of Selectmen members at this time? Are there any hands raised?
I do have one, Bob, if no one else in the room does.
Oh, go ahead, Paul.
I noticed, thank you for the presentation, and it is a beautiful building. I've been there several times. It's lovely. The slide that you showed where your income breakdown to pay for your operating budget. I don't know if I noticed the amount from your yield from your investments as a contributing part of that. Was that there and I missed that?
It's not part of our operating budget.
So do you, I thought early on you said that monies you made on your endowment did go toward helping to operate the library.
We operate with our operating budget has a budget gap, and at the, if we're not able to close the gap through fundraising and other things, then we do use the interest from the endowment to close the gap.
Oh, if you weren't able to close the gap, that's when you would bring that in.
Yeah.
Any idea? Are you willing to share what that amount might be?
What the interest is?
Yes.
Well, I can get back to you with that, but I don't have the exact number.
Okay. If it was some $1.7 million of principal, you said, right? So some reasonable amount of interest would be expected. I would reckon.
Yes. I mean, we'll be happy to give you the number of, where we are this year with the interest. And I'll get back to you with that.
Yeah, it'll help us understand the full picture of the financial need. That's for sure. Thank you.
Understood. Yep.
Okay, are there any other questions? Michael, do you have one?
No, I was just clarifying that right now you're projecting the $33,000 shortfall according to the slide. That was using 75,000 from the town.
No, it was using 65,000 from the town, which is what we got, and it's $75,000 for our annual appeal.
Okay.
And our annual appeal was budgeted at 75. We've been meeting our annual appeal number every year, and this year we're falling short. I don't have an explanation for it, but our gap actually may be higher than 33.
Okay. So during this time, you're usually ahead of where you are now?
In the annual appeal?
Yes.
Yes.
Do you normally get any contributions during the springtime or? Is it
Yes.
mostly-
I mean, we run the annual appeal, we drop it in October, and usually the bulk of it is in by year end. People used to be more motivated to do it by year end than they are now, but we also take advantage of a wonderful matching fund that is available through Charter Oak. So we jump on our annual appeal in October, and typically by the end of December, we know we're pretty close, but our fiscal year ends in June, and monies do actually still continue to come in for the annual appeal right up to June. But the bulk of it, we really have a good idea of what's happening usually by the end of December.
I have a question on the, you talked about a plan for next year, redoing the HVAC and other things within the library is a pretty large project. Now, the town helped you with windows back when we did the windows. Are you looking to come back to the town when you do that project for some assistance on funding?
Yes, we are.
And any idea what kind of dollars are you looking at that point?
I don't think we're ready to talk about that right now, but we did receive a $1 million grant from the state library, and we have to match the grant. So there's going to be fundraising efforts, and we've had an architect, and the project that we have presented to the state is over $2 million.
Okay, so if you don't have an amount per se as a town ask, do you have a timeline when that might happen?
Yes, we have a timeline that is tentative, but we were thinking that in May of 2023 would be when we would be.
May of 2023, that's when you would be coming to the town?
Yeah, with something like a referendum, but
Okay, so not in this coming budget.
correct.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions from online or in there?
Just, I want to make sure that we're all clear. So if you got the 85, there'd be a a $13,000 shortfall should your annual appeal come to 75. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
But you're looking at the 2021, 2022 budget, which already has the $65,000 from the town. So the $85,000 is for next year's budget, which I did not present because we haven't made it yet.
Okay. Do you
Okay.
expect any significant changes to that? The income budget, as far
No.
as budgeting is concerned?
No,
I mean, I know actuals, we might see some differences, but the
That's-
budget
yeah.
should be pretty similar.
no, the budget should be very similar. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we did have a big increase to the budget this year that was represented with that libraries material where I talked about the consortium that we changed. That's, I think that was an additional $8,000. So, but for our next year's budget, we do not anticipate any major increases.
So I have a question. When you say you're trying to get more in line with other associated libraries in the state, is that also in line with their endowments? So do those libraries have typical endowments of the similar percentages compared to what we have here?
Some
What you guys
do,
have?
and some have no endowment, and some have endowment. So but there are, excuse me, we didn't specifically tease out association libraries that do have endowments.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions? If none, thank you, Kate. Thanks,
Yep.
Emily. I think next we have the Northland Ambulance Association, and Jim Tuttle will give that presentation.
Good evening. James Tuttle, President, North Stonington Ambulance. Just going to give a quick rundown of how we've managed the past year. We had some big changes in the ambulance in 2021. We brought on 4 full-time paid staff to supplement our per diem model. That was no longer working to fill our staffing. So current, we had a little issue. We brought on 4. Within a few months, we lost 1 to a higher paying job. We're currently back up to 4 full-time staffing. For those staff members, we provide paid insurance for the employee themselves. If they require family insurance, that they have to pay that out of pocket. We only have 2 people actually taking in our offered health insurance. So this year, so far to date, we've done 112 calls. I'll give you some call stats from the past 3 years. We've gradually increased. In 2019, we had 701 calls for service. 2020, that greatly jumped to 823 calls for service. And in 2021, we ended with 809 calls.
Can you give me those numbers again?
2019, 701,
Yep,
2020, 823,
yep,
and 21 was 809.
thank you.
So I'm just going to do our budget request from the town for 22, 23 has not changed from the past 2 years. We're requesting $250,000. This goes directly towards our payroll. We did make some cuts to our operating budget. I'll skim through those real quick. I don't know if you have the same copy I have.
Do you want me to share what you submitted on the screen?
Sure, if you do that. So in 2021-22 budget, we had estimated about $180,000 income from insurance. We did end up bringing in more than that. We brought in right around $200,000. That was due to the increased call volume of 21-22. So we with a 2% decrease in Medicare reimbursement for this year, which was supposed to go into effect last year. However, Congress put a hold on it until this year due to COVID. So we're projecting, again, $180,000 increase income in Medicare, insurance, Medicaid payments. We're looking at a slight increase in collections. We will be changing new billing companies. This billing company charges a lower fee for billing services. You'll see that in further down the lines. Town operating, we have 0 town capital this year. Last year, we also had 0 town capital. We gave our capital requests. We were asked to find some cuts, so we ended up cutting our town capital requests last year as well. So we're working on 2 years with no capital requests. This proposed income you see here, this is what we're hoping to make with the increase in calls, looking at the past couple of years. This isn't guaranteed, but we do figure this into our budget.
How much is that, Jim?
It's $19,300.
Okay.
$302. I'll start down the line for our operating. We decreased our office supplies and postage, print. We're doing a lot more stuff online, as in paying bills, stuff to that nature, where we don't have to actually print out checks. There were the decrease in subscriptions and websites. We added some last year. We had planned on switching to a new patient care reporting system software. Once that's done, we can decrease that. We decrease that down to 5,000. That subscription and websites, that also includes our scheduling and time clock software, our online employment application, information technology. That's just a placeholder right now. We have one of our full-time employees has an IT history, so he does most of our IT for us. Significant changes. If you look under 511H, that's our billing fee, agent fees. Currently, we're at 16.5. We've been right around there for the past few years. We project that to decrease due to our lowered billing rate. The new company we're going with is supposed to save us around 2% in billing fees. There have been some other minor changes. Accountant fees dropped $100. Vehicle building and liability insurance, that went up for us. That's an increase for our old facility on Maine's Crossing. Vehicle maintenance, we dropped that by $1,000. We actually changed services. We use Groton Tire now instead of another garage that was a little bit more local, but the price savings was worth it. Mobile data, we increased that by $200. That's all. Both ambulances have internet service in the vehicles. That's so we can log on to our computers. We can look up patient information. Medical equipment maintenance, that was dropped by $1,000. We found a third-party company that does independent inspection of some of our medical equipment instead of using the manufacturer, who charges a decent amount more. This is for equipment like our Lucas, our mechanical CPR devices. So this company will come in. They're certified by the manufacturer to do the inspections and repairs. Medical supplies and pharmaceuticals was dropped by 1,000. We used to have EpiPens. Now we carry epinephrine and vials for allergic reactions. An EpiPen was around $175, $250 a piece. The Epi vials are $9.12. So we don't have to replace them as often. So there's a significant savings there. Our first responder expenses went down. We really only have 4 active call taking volunteers. So we don't have much to supply them with. Medical waste increased by $50. That just goes along with the rate of inflation. Public relations, the Heart Safe program, we dropped that down to $1. We have 4 AEDs. One we've already placed in the town hall. We have 3 more to place. One's going to be at the senior center, and we have 2 other locations. We have the AEDs, we have the equipment to do it. So this year there'll be no cost to that. Next year, we'll have to replace batteries in these AEDs. So that's why we left $1 in there. We decreased some of our training costs. One of our full-time manager, one of our full-time employees, he is actually an EMS instructor, so we can utilize him more for in-house classes instead of having to pay them for someone to come in and to teach them from out of service. Physicals, we dropped by 1,000. We've been using the employees, most of the employees, I'm going to say 95%, work other jobs at other services full-time. So we can use their services physical as ours, so we don't have to get their yearly physicals done. 581E, that's the EAP counseling. We didn't have that last year. We were attempting to use the one offered by the town's insurance. However, when the fire department went to use it, nothing was covered. So we, both the fire department and the ambulance signed up with our own EAP again. The volunteer appreciation programs is cut by 500. The VFIS retirement, that was ended 2 years ago. Here's the big one, wages and salaries. Last year we had $331,600. We gave $1 raise across the board last year to keep up. We need to keep a certain level above minimum wage. So we increased that by just shy of $9,000 this coming year. Salary adjustment stays the same. The medical insurance, we had budgeted $36,000 last year, assuming all 4 full-time employees took insurance. However, they didn't. We were able to cut that down. And we actually got better rates for our insurance through a large co-op, a municipal co-op. So that dropped down to $12,000 for this coming year. Payroll taxes stayed the same. Volunteer stipends, that was another significant decrease, $2,000, just due to the limited number of volunteers, call taking volunteers. So total payroll expenses of $388,000. And a total operating budget of $451,313 for 22-23. Again, there's no cap. We have no capital requests this year. With working with this third-party service that does inspections and repairs on our Lucas devices, we were able to hold on to them for at least another 2 years. So. So again, our request, we've received 249,000 for the past 2 years. We're not asking for any increase. I mean, the 250 is what we requested. The past 2 years, we got 249. So we're not requesting any extra.
Thank you, Jim. Are there any questions from the board members, Board of Finance or Board of Selectmen? Michael Anderson?
So just based upon what you just presented, Jim, your budgeted expenses are $27,000 less than you asked for last year. Is that correct?
Yes, yep.
Good work on that. Just to recap, so you had $200,000 in insurance in income last year, right?
Yes.
You mentioned the Medicare reimbursement increase. What, can you go?
Decrease.
Decrease?
Yes.
So the rate is going to decrease?
The rate is going to decrease 2%. It actually already has. I believe it went in January 1. It was supposed to go in April of 2021. Congress withheld the decrease due to COVID, and it was put off until January 1st.
So a person has Medicare, covers your services, you're going to get a 2% decrease in reimbursement this year.
2% decrease on the, let's see, on the average ambulance bill is between $800 and $1,000. We get a reimbursement from Medicare for about $350, $400.
Okay. What percentage of you had 809 calls last year? What percentage of that 809 were Medicare?
Medicare and Medicaid, I would say, is around 60 to 65%.
Medicaid, they pay the same as Medicare?
Medicaid is basically the same. They have a slightly better pay rate. We get maybe $400 per call out of the amount.
What's the percentage between the two, do you think?
The different, I would say we probably have 45% Medicare and 20% Medicaid, 25% Medicaid.
45% Medicare, is that?
Yeah, 45 to 50% Medicare and 20 to 25% Medicaid.
So that leaves about 30% private insurance.
Private and private pay and private insurance.
What are you getting for those? Does it just vary?
Well, if it's a car accident with a private insurance, most of the time we have to fight back and forth. We initially end up settling for probably 80% of what the ambulance bill was. Private pay, our billing deals with that. Sometimes we have good years with it. If there's someone from out of state,
Write it off.
it ends up being what a write-off. And we have a policy in place for residents of town that are Medicare, Medicaid, and TRICARE. If they owe less than $250, if their insurance, after Medicare, their insurance pays, if they owe less than $250, we write it off. For Medicaid, if they owe less than $175, we write it off. For TRICARE, I believe it's $225 or $250. But we try to assist the residents as much as we can, but
Explain that, because, in my business,
Yep.
balance billing is not allowed. So can you explain how you get
So-
to,
if you have Anthem insurance
yeah,
and you're a senior in town, if Anthem pays, say the bill is $1,000, if Anthem pays $800 and they're requiring the patient to pay the rest, if they're elderly on Medicare or Medicaid, we'll wipe that clean. We'll give the resident
okay.
the cut.
Well, the difference between that and balance billing is that, if you charge 800 and the insurance company says you can only get paid 300 from our, because you're using our policy, you're agreeing to our services or whatever, you're agreeing to take our insurance. You can't then have a balance bill that $700. You can pay you get the $300.
Well, for EMS, if Medicare pays us $351 and the ambulance bill is $500, we have to bill for the rest of it.
You can.
Yes, we
Okay.
can. However, we chose $250 or less to call it a wash for only for residents. We only do that for town residents.
Okay.
Thanks, Michael. Any other questions from board members, either online or in person?
I do have a
I-
couple more questions.
You want to take them now, or, excuse me? Okay, why don't we go Paul, Brett, and then go back to you? Okay, go ahead, Paul.
No question. I was just putting my camera back on after I had my little coughing attack. That's all.
All right, thanks.
I just have a question. I don't know if I missed it. When you talked about your income 300Z
Yep.
line, where does that income come from?
That is
Exactly.
excess billing.
Excess billing. Okay. And you think it's going to drop that much?
We don't know. But with this, the past 2 years, we've had record numbers of calls. So actually, last year, we did get some COVID money, which was from Medicare. So some of that $200,000 was actually COVID money, which was distributed amongst all EMS.
So this is your approved budget
Mhm.
based on your income. Do you have your actual numbers for that income from?
I do. I believe I gave,
end of
that was
21?
given to Mike. He got the closeout for that.
Okay,
I don't have it with us. Right
so
now.
we do have it somewhere.
Yep.
All right. Thank you. And then actually, this might be for you, Christine. I know Donnie mentioned at the last meeting, do you have their fuel usage? You don't have that?
No, I
right now?
remember it was around $4,600.
46, and we don't bill back the company like we do with the school. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Brett. Michael, do you want another question?
Yeah, I just, I know, Jim, you had no capital budget this year, no capital budget next year. Do you have projections for the future for us?
Yes, well, through the work group, we, in 2 years, we'll be putting in it's about $25,000 to replace the 2 Lucas mechanical CPR devices that we have. We also have an ambulance coming due. However, I'm going to speak with the selectmen about that. We have an idea for a fix for replacing the ambulance.
Okay.
We have a large communications issue in town, but we're working on that. We're actually meeting with the radio vendors, the ambulance and the fire company to get all our numbers put back together. The coverage in town is poor with the system that we have. So in the past, we had a proposal put together for like 2 more radio tower sites. That was kind of, the kibosh was put on that. And we're actually forming the committee together to start working on that again. But that's going to be, depending on which way we go, that's going to be a joint capital project between, because the town is included on this radio system as well. So,
Okay, Jimmy, I have a couple of questions. Do you have any future plans for the facility on Maine's Crossing?
we do. The board's been discussing it. I'm not going to say anything right now. So until we talk to you first, we have a proposal for you, but
Okay. Second, on the balance sheet for the capital projects fund, you have 12,585.53 sitting there. Is that earmarked for any particular thing?
in the capital, what?
It's called the balance sheets for the capital projects fund balance sheet. So it's money that was already being approved in previous budgets sitting there to be used.
So that's for the new PCR system. Once we get that, it takes a lot to move all of anytime we change a billing system or a PCR system, we have to go through Medicare and Medicaid, and nothing is electronic with them. It's all paperwork. So we have to change our numbers, our recipient numbers with them when we change our billing company. So that's kind of in the process. I don't think we'll use that all, but
Okay. My last question is, since I think Michael and Brett hit on a couple, when you have your four full-time employees, correct?
yes,
When they're not there, how do you fill those spots?
We have 4 full-time employees. We have 26 per diem employees. And the per diem employees cover the open shifts. Basically, the full-timers are there Monday through Saturday, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. The per diems cover 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. Monday through Friday, and then they cover all day Sunday.
Okay.
We've been in the process of reclassifying a few of the per diems as permanent part-times. We've had people for years that have picked up the same shifts, same 2 shifts or whatever for many years, and they're interested in making them permanent. So
Okay, I lied. I have one more question. Sorry. And now, what was that question? I lost my train of thought. So maybe I don't have another question at this point. What do you said you want to come to the selectmen on a couple of things. One was Maine's Crossing, and one was the ambulance. Do you want to come to a board of selectmen meeting? I know you work 2 jobs and you're out of state, so.
I have to have one more meeting with the board, which we have a special meeting coming up in 2 weeks. And then I'll come to you and the board of selectmen. But
So
it's both issues are combined for this. Yeah.
Okay, so I'd like to see if there's any chance we could do it before mid-March would be.
Yeah. Yes. Yep.
Okay, great. All right.
I have one more question.
Oh, go ahead, Mike.
So, because we're talking about, we have the town chunk, we have insurance chunk. Insurance chunk only happens if you make a call and you get paid by the insurance company.
Yep.
Out of all the calls that were made, is there a percentage that you guys made it to or is there a percentage that you didn't make it to?
Yes. This year, as 2021, we start our full-time staff started in May and May or June. And like I said, we were really good for a few months and then we lost an employee, and picking up day shifts, trying to fill day shifts is hard. So we still had a few missed calls. I don't have the exact numbers on me right now for the percentage of missed calls. I know that this year, out of the 112, I think there's been 2 that have gone mutual aid.
You guys did 102 since January. Is that
112.
Is that a calendar year you're going by right now?
Yes. calendar.
Okay.
Yep.
So that
There were-
809,
sorry,
that was for all of 2021. That's your numbers, not the fiscal year?
Yes, that's all of 21. That's January 1 to December
Okay,
31st. I did provide, when I gave the budget closeout to Mike, he did have fiscal year numbers as well.
Do you have that, Christine? Okay, great. Thank you. All right.
Actually, I do have another question since Mike brought it up. So what happens when a call is missed? I mean, are services provided by someone else? Do you call somebody else? How does that work?
So if it's an advanced life support call and there's a paramedic coming, if it's an American paramedic, most of the time they're transport capable and they can do the transport. Otherwise, we rely on mutual aid from out of town.
That's really got to increase the time of a response, yeah?
It does. That's why we have the fire department respond as R1s, first responders.
Do you have metrics on your time for response versus what it would be if you missed a call? Those types of numbers?
I don't have them on me. I can get them for you. However, we had the emergency services committee, our geographical area, our times can be all over the place.
Yeah, it's a big place. No, that's for sure.
We have some places like up on Coal Pit Hill, 25 minutes to get there. However, the mutual aid for that area is actually probably a little bit closer than us.
Gotcha.
Ball in town and Griswold. Well, Ball in town anyways.
Yeah, no, I understand. And it's a big town, right? Yeah.
It is a large area.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Nicole?
Yeah, I just have a quick comment. I'm kind of torn between loving the fact that you are helping out the residents of the town with what in the hospital we call charitable care, right? So you accept what insurance is going to give you and then you kind of waive the rest. I'm I guess my question is, and you probably don't have the answer right off the top of your head, is how much money is really left on the table with that practice? And do you have any idea what the practice is in neighboring small towns as far as their charitable care?
Yep, it's similar.
Is it a pretty standard practice?
It's a pretty standard rate from the billing company. Actually, we've always had this. We just increased it recently because all the local billing companies were increasing their Medicare forgiveness rates and Medicaid forgiveness rates. So it was a proposal by the billing company. So it's standardized for the
Okay.
most part.
All right, thank you. I do want to applaud you. There were lots of areas that I thought were really creative with cost savings that allowed you to keep a pretty flat request. And I just want to say thank you.
Thank you. I mentioned our full-time staff, they're also doing blood pressure clinics down at the senior center. They may contact the school for a little bit of recruitment. We're slowly working our way out.
Great.
So,
Thank you. Brett?
so I just want a little clarification, if you don't mind. So on your total calls, in 2020, the 825, 2021, 809, were those calls that you guys responded to
No,
completely?
So it's total call. That's
So
calls
there's
for
missed
service.
calls in there as well?
Yes. Yep.
And you don't have the percentage of,
Not offhand, no.
and does that include calls to Stonington Institute in it?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay,
As much as a hassle that place can be sometimes, they do pay.
if there's no other questions, then we'll say thank you, Jim,
Thank you.
and we'll have our next
Thank you.
presentation. So Jimmy, just give me a call if you get a chance. I know you're busy with 2 jobs, but call me when you want to come in. All right, thank you. Christina, you're going to give the recreation?
We're gonna let the highway foreman do the capital. Since I'll be here for the whole meeting, he can go ahead and go first.
Good move. Thank you. Okay, Donnie.
Good evening. Those of you who don't know me, I'm Don Hill, Highway Foreman for the town of North Stonington. We'll talk a little bit tonight about one of the trailers that we're gonna need to replace. This trailer is trailer number 34. We call it 34 because that's the plate. It's a walking floor trailer. Next slide, please. Really? So this trailer is a 21 or 22-year-old trailer that hauls between 14, an average of 14 to 16 tons of trash from the landfill to the incinerator. I have pictures of what's concerning about it. So that's the trailer there. Again, it's a 2002, which was bought brand new when assigned to the transfer station in 2002. Again, it's used weekly to haul back and forth from the landfill to the incinerator in Lisbon. Next slide. So some of the concerns, again, when you get equipment this old, it has garbage on it and all that leaky stuff going on to the axles and the frames and everything else over the years, you get rot. And this trailer has a lot of rot in there that's has to be, basically the whole undercarriage of it has to be replaced. Axles, springs, all the bushings. This year, while driving to the incinerator on 395, luckily for us, that black can you see across there is an air can that had rotted completely off on the sides. It fell down in the middle of 395, which we had to go out there and repair it on the side of the highway, which wasn't fun. It's now the mechanic has made up a temporary bracket to hold it in place so we can bring it back and forth. And the picture shows you the amount of rot on this vehicle. This is looking from the front side to the back, again, showing the condition of the undercarriage part of this vehicle. These are gussets that holds basically the frame portions for the axles in place. The gussets are completely rotted out. Next one. This is a picture of the walking floor. on from the underneath part, that's all the trash in there. The parts that's needs to be replaced, which is very expensive, are those white things you see there. Those are Teflon slides. That's what makes the floor work back and forth as the hydraulic pistons push the trailer back and forth on the floor, so the garbage is walked off to the back and dumped onto the ground. This I found by actually accidentally taking this picture, finding this when I was up there taking pictures of the rot. There is supposed to be those Teflon pieces in there to help the floor slide back and forth. And you can see the difference in the wear from one side to the other, how it's wearing itself out. So a year ago, we were looking at trying to replace this truck. So we got an estimate from this company, Utility, out of these trailers are not common trailers. They're basically, you order them, they make them, or they have a couple of them laying around here and there for you to get. You can't, they don't make them in bulk. So I had them prepare how much it would cost last year to buy this trailer, and it was right around 71,000, 71 or 72. So this last week, I called these guys back again because I was preparing for this, and now we're up to 92,000. So in less than a year, this trailer has gone up $20,000. So to rebuild trailer 34, he gave me, I called a company that does it out of Vermont, and they gave me a verbal estimate over the phone about how much it would be. So to replace the tandem axles, the springs, the shackles, the frame with new would be about $19,600. To replace the walking floor Teflon components and the rails, because they have to be, since they're so worn, would be an estimated $41,000, because they have to pull the rails out, put the Teflons in there, put rubbers in there, and do that part of it. To replace the hydraulic pistons for the floor, to work the floor back and forth, and all the piping system with the galvanized stuff that they use today was around $11,000 estimated. And if finding no other issues, it would be an estimated $71,600 to repair this one that we currently have. And that was from the company, New England, Mike Roswell from Utility Trailers in New England.
So Donnie,
Questions?
I got a question. So there's already a truck in the capital for $120,000, right?
Correct.
A trailer. Is this in addition to that, or are you?
No, the mechanic, we have a phenomenal mechanic. We had a green Mack. I'll give you a little background on this. We had a green Mack tractor. That's the oldest one. I believe it's 87. And we weren't allowed to take it to the incinerator because it just smoked so bad. So the new mechanic we got took him probably about 2 hours to figure out what the problem was, and he fixed it. So we don't have that problem anymore. So what I want to do is, the trailer was to be replaced. We were looking at 24, 25 on the capital, or 23, 24.
23, 24. It was slated for next year.
All right, so we were looking to do that next year, which we're swapping it out. We're taking the truck out and putting the trailer, moving the trailer up on the capital.
So you're taking out 120 and putting in 92.
Correct.
So the next question is going to be, I know you showed 72,000 to repair it versus the 92 to buy a new one. Why would the town want to buy a new one? What's the advantages?
So if you're gonna repair a 2001, you're gonna have you still got metal integrities. You still have other issues that can come up over the time, because it's with anything. I mean, you buy a watch and 21 years later, it's not gonna work, or you replace the inside, and you still got the problems with everything else with it. So if this trailer that we have right now, no idea what the metal integrity is gonna be on it. Now you have to understand, when this trailer is sitting in there and the garbage goes in, it's packed with an excavator. So you're pushing stuff out, and who knows with the metal integrity over the years if that's going to fail or not. I don't know. But if you stay with the 2001, you're going to have a 2001 trailer.
Okay, so it's going to cost the town either 72,000 or 92,000, depending on how we decide to go. When you talked about the old green Mack truck, it used to be $10,000 on the capital projects fund balance sheet through October. Then it dropped down to $1,033 recently. Was that 9,000? Is that what was used to repair the green Mack?
Yeah. So the other problem with that truck is the clutch was no good. The throw up bearing was shot, and we had leaks in the transmission itself. So we sent it out to be repaired, and that's what the the money went to.
No, I just saw the drop and I was wondering if that's what that was for. So,
Yeah, that's what it was. The transmission had to be rebuilt.
Okay, are there any other questions? Michael?
Don, if you did buy new, is there any salvage value out of this trailer?
Yeah, the other trailer, I could talk to them about taking as a trade-in because it's aluminum and aluminum's not cheap. So I could talk to them maybe up there if they could find somewhere they could send it overseas, or, a lot of these dealers have places they can send it to, which, it's got some value to them. I haven't even, went down that avenue yet.
Okay.
Can we do
Gary?
that?
Oh,
Can we
sorry.
do that?
Yeah, sure.
I think, if we can say this is a net cost, likely net cost for budget purposes, I think that could help. I mean, I think it's a need, no matter what, but sweeten the deal with it to get the salvage value out of it.
Right, we're not gonna keep it, that's for sure.
Right.
Yes, we have to.
Any material changes in the new one versus the old one?
What's it? Yeah, on the new ones, everything's all galvanized now,
Yeah,
where the old ones are all steel.
Right.
And that's why we're having the problems we're having, because they upgraded them to steel versus galvanized versus the steel.
so Bob, there's a big difference in my mind as far as the 71 to repair versus 72 to new.
I agree. And as Michael said, if we can get some sort of a trade-in value for the other one, it's might even be a wash. And then it's also a big drop back from the 120 that was in the original budget ask, dropping down to 92 minus whatever the trade-in is. So it seems like it was on schedule to get it next year. So I think, any other questions online, Paul?
Yeah, is this, do we own a number of these trailers? Is this the only one that we own?
Yeah, we have to have two of them on hand.
That makes sense, yeah.
Two reasons. One, when you get Christmas and Thanksgiving, you need two trailers in there. One to fills up, so you have to bail into the other trailer. And then when you pull one trailer out to run at the incinerator, the other trailer has to back in so they swap back and forth.
That makes sense. Are they both of the same vintage?
No, there's one that's the newer one, 2010. Is the other one's a 2010, I guess. So yes, the other one's a 2010.
And is the material construction galvanized, or is it?
All the piping's galvanized on that one versus this one's all steel.
All right, so we're in better shape there then.
Yes, we haven't had to do, the other problem with this trailer too is the pistons are leaking at the back. So this trailer's pistons are a lot harder to get to. You actually have to cut around to get them out, where the new trailer is set up so you can just pop a couple pins and get the pistons out of there if you have to repair.
Yep.
Total different setups.
And about the Mac you were talking about, what was the magic that the mechanic performed? Is that a long-term?
No, on that truck, it has a puff eliminator, which controls the amount of fuel air into the injectors. And he was able to figure out the proper adjustment that it needed to go in order for it to stop. And we've been having this problem. I've been here 12 years, and I can remember at least 7 years that we couldn't bring that truck up to the incinerator in Preston.
So it was really just an adjustment that saves us $125,000.
Correct.
Wow.
Adjustment, and also the transmission fix, $8,000 or $9,000 to fix the transmission.
Okay, thank you.
We just use that truck as a spare. If the red Mac goes down, then the green Mac goes into play. We use that one.
Sure. All right, appreciate it. Thank you.
I do just want to remind everybody that truck is still an 87. So at some point, if we're going to continue to haul, we will need to replace it, but it will do for now.
I'm a 53. I'm still going.
That's true.
Oh, thank you. All right, Donnie, thank you. What'd you call that, a puff eliminator? Is that really
I
a
think
thing?
Carl had a question. Yeah, it's called a puff eliminator on there. It adjusts the amount of fuel air into the injectors through the fuel rack.
Go ahead, Carl.
Donnie, I just want to agree with you on a 92 versus 72. You're probably going to find wiring problems. The aluminum is going to be stretched out. That thing lasted 20 years or more. With a new one, you should be able to get another 20 years out of it. So I think it's worthwhile going for that and some money coming in.
Okay. Thank you, Carl. Any other
Anything else?
questions?
Donnie, how many different companies are you going to look at for the pricing on this?
So with this, I just put a feeler out there because we talked to this guy last year, looking to probably try to do something last year, but it was just too much in the capital last year to even try to attempt it. So we figured we'd put it off this year. And in the meantime, hindsight, if I had known that the problem with the air tank was going to happen, I probably would have pushed it last year. So we just reached out to him, but obviously, we have to go to RFP. So we'd have to put it out the bidding at that point. I did contact the two other companies in Joseph's Trucking or Trailer in Vermont. They do have walking floor trailers, but he said he just called me tonight and told me they're not doing anything in aluminum. They're only doing everything in steel. So he wasn't even interested.
I think, because I just, as I was looking quickly, it seems like there are some in the New England area that have some listed, but there's a big price range between 55 to the top was the 90.
Are you talking new or used?
I was talking new 2022s is what I just saw, but that was just a quick search. So I didn't know how the process would work so we can get a solid number on it, because if we could find one for considerably less money, that looks a lot better in this budget.
Looks better, but we would want to go with another steel versus aluminum or galvanized rather. Would it make sense to save $20,000 and go with the steel when?
No, you have to go with aluminum. So I have a spec of what we are required to go by for that trailer. Pretty much what we have up there now, pretty much staying all aluminum, but the subframe, which is the tires at the axles, the frame there, and also the landing gear, all in galvanized versus steel.
Okay, so before we go to a final budget hearing, we just have to get the actual numbers to put in the budget. That's all. All right, thank you.
Do you want me to, when you say actual numbers, you want me to go around to other places and do it, or do you want me to RFP it now, or what do you want to do?
Well, Christine, we're gonna have to have a hearing in April, correct?
Yes, so I think the best thing is to contact a couple other companies so that we have a range of pricing. And then also if we're trading it into the company that we're buying it from as an offset, then we can budget less. If we're selling it separately, then we would budget the revenue in sale of vehicles as a separate line item. So we need to explore all the options. So we have those pieces in place.
And I did explain to them that this number that they gave me is not guaranteed because we'd have to RFP this.
Right.
So he's aware of that.
So the Board of Selectmen need a number that we can talk about, push forward to the Board of Finance before we go to a hearing. And so we just need a budgeted number that's fairly close.
Mid-March, we
The-
can't
the-
wait until the April date.
No,
because-
I
yeah.
understand.
The other problem is that number he gave me is only good for 90 days.
Right.
That's the other problem.
All right, any other questions? All right, Donnie, thank you.
Okay.
Last presentation, recreation. Christine's going to give that to us tonight.
Okay, so if you guys don't mind, I'm just going to present from my computer. So I have my computer. So unfortunately, our rec director, Tom Fabian, and our chair of the Recreation Commission, Megan Perkins, are both unavailable this evening to give the presentation. So I created a short presentation to share with you for our Parks and Recreation 2022-2023 budget. Okay. So there's 6 line items that make up the recreation budget. The director's salary, which he is a part-time non-benefited employee, and that has the same standard 2% increase that we did for all of our line items. B 16.01 is our program expense. There is an increase in that to $57,550. I will get to the explanations on the next slide. Maintenance expenses is staying the same at $5,000. Camp and officials, which mainly is the salary line for our summer camp program, but also includes the people that run some of our other programs. That has an increase to $18,760. Administrative expenses is staying flat at $12,995, and rec center expenses again staying flat at $10,230. So the Recreation Commission has revenues that offset the expenses that they have. They have budgeted $70,405 for their revenue. I do have a breakdown of that if you guys have questions on the specifics, but it has a direct correlation to the number of participants in each program. So if we were to hold, say, our art class and the teacher, the instructor is charging $50 per participant, then she's getting paid out the $50 per participant that we're collecting. We do have a slight upcharge for out of town participants. So that money does stay with the town, but the flat charge of, again, example, $50 per participant goes back to the instructor. So it's a 1-to-1 ratio for what we're taking in and what we're paying out for the majority of our programs. Programs like our soccer and our basketball are not exactly the same. They have different expenses that go into it, whether it's uniform charges or officials for the programs. And the other one that's like that is our summer rec program. We have a fee structure where we charge a certain amount before April 1st. Then there's an increase. After that, there's discounts if you have multiple children per family that are participating in our program. And there's a resident and non-resident fee for that as well. So if there's any adjustments that need to be made to the program expense line, a corresponding difference would need to be made to the revenue line since they do offset each other. The maintenance line is for rec area and field maintenance expenses. So think of the maintenance line as outdoor maintenance, whether it's something that we're doing with aerating the field, buying fertilizer, anything that's happening on the basketball courts, tennis courts, the fake wood mulch that we purchase for the playground area, all of those things come out of the B1602 line. The camps and officials, we have had in excess of 40 children a day in our summer camp program. So the rec commission is asking for additional funding for additional staff for the camp. Lori Umflett has run it for the past few years. She's doing a phenomenal job. And that's why we have so many people that want to participate. We also have drop-ins that come just for the day and they pay a higher rate just because they're coming on a per day basis. So we are going up to 9 counselors, and adding, there's an increase for the camp director, and then they're going to add an assistant director for the program because one person cannot be supervising multiple groups of children and multiple staff members by themselves. So it just makes sense to have an assistant director working with her as well. And minimum wage is increasing again to $14 an hour as of July 1st. I just wanted to explain the difference between the administrative fees in 1604 and the rec center expenses in 1605. So administrative expenses are more of the rec area. So the utilities for 32 Rocky Hollow Road, the electricity out there, the porta-johns that we rent for out there, and anything else that has to do with exterior, some of the pest control that we have to do for the rec shack. The website fees, this is the only website or technology fee that is contained within a department. I did double check with our IT manager on that. And because it is a separate website, that's why it's paid out of the rec fee or out of the rec area. If anyone wants to try to move that into IT with everything else, we could do that, but that's just going to be a shuffling of fees, not a reduction in the budget. And then anytime that the programs use the schools on the weekends, they have to pay for the custodian to be there to clean up and to lock up the building. So that's what falls under administrative. Rec center expenses are all the operational expenses for 267 Norwich Wesley Road. So the electricity for there, the gas bill for there, the pest control for inside of the building because we have a bit of a termite issue. And any minor maintenance or repair that we need to do to that building. Not any major renovation or upkeep. This is just the, if the furnace needs to be cleaned, inspected, if there's something minor that needs to be fixed, it is covered in the rec budget. If there is something major that were to come about, then we would take it out of the capital line for town building maintenance. So overall, the increase in the budget is going from $116,176.96 last year to $131,412. But there is a corresponding increase in their revenue. So
Christine, the mileage and cell phones, 16.04, mileage and cell phone for who?
for the rec director, it's a quarterly stipend that he gets that covers mileage and cell phone reimbursement. So it's not a town phone, but he does get an amount reimbursed.
Christine, not counting capital. We see a net of around $61,000 when you take the revenue away from the 131,412. And the balance sheet, it has recreation pavilion and fields, 5,690. Yes, 5,690 in rec. Facility upgrades, 15,000. That money have not been spent yet. Are those monies that are earmarked for particular projects or?
So the pavilion expense can only be used for any capital improvement on the pavilion. That's a pre-existing capital line from before we changed the threshold to $10,000. They used to be funded, I think, $2,500 a year in that line. So that's waiting until they have a project to complete. The $15,000 for rec center upgrades is for a hood system for the kitchen and also to create an office for the rec director and summer camp coordinator, or whoever else needs office space. They would have moved forward on those projects, but were asked to hold off when we didn't know what was happening with the building we're in right now. So they do have a specific project and use for that $15,000.
Okay. And when you say pavilion, you're talking about the one at the rec field, not the one that you would.
Yes, the one at 32 Rocky Hollow Road.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Yeah. Christine, under the summer camp's the only real program that doesn't cover itself, correct? In revenues. I think.
I don't know with soccer and basketball, because it all has to, especially with basketball, since we participated in the Groton League. It all has to do with the numbers of participants and what you're paying out. Soccer and basketball have pizza parties and different things that go along with them. But summer camp definitely does not cover itself. Yes.
Okay. So just quick question. I know the minimum wage is going up. What was the director's pay prior? Do you have that?
She's been making $600 a week.
Okay, so it went up. All right, and then can you send us a copy of the lease for that building? Just so I have it, because I'm wondering what is covered from the town? Everything?
Everything.
So if the roof goes,
Everything.
we have to cover
Everything
it.
is the town's responsibility.
Okay.
So I
For-
can send you the lease, but everything is the town's responsibility.
So anything like that would come out of the maintenance, different through the town maintenance? line
Yes,
item.
if it's a major expense, I don't want to say any of these things out loud because I don't want them to happen. So if anything really bad happens, say over a $2,000 threshold, we would go through to the town building maintenance capital line. But anything that is more of a repair than a replacement, we try to do out of the rec line.
And any changes to the interior or any part of that building has to be approved first by the
Yes,
fire company?
one of the terms of the lease is that anything that wants to be adjusted inside of the building has to go to the fire company. They have requested that if it's anything structural, that we have plans that are signed off by an engineer or an architect before they are willing to approve them.
Okay, and that was part of the issue with the office originally?
Yep, we had the highway foreman had gone in, done measurements, made a schematic for moving walls, and they denied because it was not stamped.
So that could increase our costs in doing something like that dramatically. Okay, thank you.
Just so you know, that is a reciprocal situation. So if they wanted to paint walls in the new firehouse, which they did, they had to come to us, tell us what they wanted to do, how many walls, what color they were going to use. So it is a reciprocal situation. It just occurred to me that we have all these coaches that coach all these kids and they do it as volunteers. Sometimes 15 kids 3 times, 4 times a week, yet someone wants to do a painting class and they get $50 a kid and they get paid the whole $50. So is that it almost seems like it's more of a, just as much as a moneymaker for someone that wants to give their time. And the town uses it as part of their rec, to expand their rec program, but so we're paying what the market will bear. So if someone wants to teach painting for $50 per kid, that's what they get paid. It's not like Michael's gonna coach rec soccer for a season and not get paid anything and be on the field 4 times a week, so.
Right.
So the reason we do that is just to increase what we can offer in the town.
Yes, to be able to offer our programs, the model that we follow is you tell us you want to teach basket weaving and you want to charge $10 a kid for it. We'll put it on the website. We'll charge $10 a kid. You get 10 kids, you get all the money from it. You get 2 kids, you get the money from it.
So they're the ones that determine the price.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
We have to decide what we're doing with the rec, because that building is, when we toured it, it's, bleh. We need to do something with that. It's
How do you spell that?
bleh. Let the minutes reflect. It's disgusting. The fact that we have kids over there is,
All right, Michael, you had a question?
One comment, but my daughter did volunteer last year for the rec program and loved it. And so it's an awesome thing. Huh? I know. I didn't say volunteers. Play the tape back.
I don't think you want to do that. You said volunteered.
All right.
I heard volunteer.
She got
All right, so-
volunteered to get paid there last year.
Any other questions online?
No, the 5,000 in maintenance, that includes the Sutherland's Organic Solutions for
Yes.
is that enough to make sure that that field is being rehabilitated?
This was the first year that we did that.
Mhm.
It had, in my opinion, very good results. And it is included in the budget. So yes, we do have enough money to do the treatments that we have planned. I don't think we have a very aggressive plan, but I think we are where we need to be with it.
Because I actually used the guy and that's, I recommended him, and the result over like a 3-year period and then on, it's been, I don't have to water my lawn at all. It's just absolutely lush. But we also, we do aeration not every year, but maybe other year. Is that something that's in contemplation on that? I'm talking about the rec field with the soccer field. It's
Yep.
usually been, more dirt than grass historically. And last year we finally did some nice fertilization, and it was a lot different in the fall than it has been. I've done it for 9 years, and it's a completely different field. But
Yeah.
I think there's more that we can do there. That probably would be small dollars.
Wayne Coates volunteers some time with us and helps Tom do different things at different times of the year. So we pay for the supplies to do it, but we don't pay for manpower. So that's been incorporated in with what we're paying for from the company.
Great, thank you. Thanks, Michael. Any other questions?
Yeah, just, so in regards to, I know I brought this up before, but like the rec shack, it's in rough shape. It needs to be painted, needs some refurbishment. That would come out of this 2,000, or that would come out of the town building maintenance?
That would come out of the maintenance expenses, be 16.02, because it's outside. And that capital line item that Bob referenced that was pre-existing, that could also be used for maintenance on the rec.
Okay. And then, I'm just worried that if we do stay in that building, it will need some renovation. But even on the exterior, I know the parking lot is in very bad shape, especially from the Route 2 side, the way it's cracked up and things like that. So I guess always the question is it in this budget, or when that work would need to be done, or is it from the town highway?
So in my opinion, parking lots or anything of that nature for any of our buildings would come out of the general pool of town funds. If we needed to do something at the Center for Emergency Services, I wouldn't take that out of the CES operating. I would take that out of either highway or town building maintenance, or if we did a separate line item for that. But I don't feel that that's programmatic, and it's not inside the building.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, if none, we're going to move on to appropriations, which I will do with the Board of Finance.
Just, I just want, just for clarification and a point of order, Sarah had to leave at 7:50. Sarah Nelson had to get off the call at 7:50. So Paul, I don't know if you want, if we're going to be voting on anything, we should seat Winona.
No, I'm very happy to do that, Mike. Thank you for that. So Christine, is that,
Basically at 7:50.
she left at 7:50? No,
Yeah.
no issue with that with protocol, right, Christine?
He did, she did.
Yeah, so the minutes should reflect that she left at the time that Mike just said. And then I would officially seat Winona at this point because no business has happened.
It's fine. Yeah.
So
agree,
I would
agree
say
with
at 8:31, she was officially seated.
Great. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Christine.
Okay, so now I'm going to address the Board of Finance on American Rescue Plan funds. The Board of Selectmen have voted on these two things. Just a little background on, we went to a community conversation, as you know, and we wanted to get as much of funds earmarked as possible. If you don't count the 100,000 that's earmarked for the business plan that the EDC is still trying to put together, we have $1,167,574.04 left to spend. At the community conversation, it was pretty loud and clear that the town wanted the majority of that money, if it was possible, to go towards the demolition of the one-story wing, AKA the old middle school building. Second thing that was most spoken about was mental health. There was some public safety, and there was some after-school programs for childcare for after-school hours. Some of those things we're addressing on the side. You'll hear more about the one-story wing and the ARPA fund. What we have planned as the Board of Selectmen, we haven't voted on it yet, but that'll be coming forth in a future meeting. But as far as tonight's meeting goes, there's two things. As I mentioned, mental health. I sent you an email to each of the Board of Finance members today on the background of one of the organizations that was looking to get funding. And in this case, it was $5,000. And that was for the United Community and Family Services. We talked to Mrs. Costanza, which I'm sure a lot of you know, and I asked her, what organization does she use the most? And in that email I sent you today, you saw the kind of numbers that we look at, how many calls they make to town, how many people they work with. And they were asking for about $8,000, I believe $8,300 around there in the budget. And I'm thinking if we took $5,000 out of that ask and did it through ARPA funding, be a one-time give, we have the money to do it, and it helps satisfy that need for mental health, the mental health services that were brought up in the community conversation, showing that we were listening to what the people said that day, which I think is important. So I'm going to ask the Board of Finance, and you can do this after I present the second one if you want, the Board of Finance to approve that $5,000 as an ARPA fund request. Again, already voted on and approved by the Board of Selectmen. The second one is the North Stonington Volunteer Fire Company ESO software plan for $7,500. Again, we spoke about public safety as one of the things that came out of the community conversation. This is something that would normally be on the capital line, but it's under $10,000. So we had set a threshold a while back that we wouldn't have a lot of $1,500, $2,500, $3,000 amounts on the capital as a capital line on the budget. So we took it off there. We could have put it in there. We could put it in their budget, but we're thinking since this is a one-time ask and the equipment they're using now will be no longer in service as of December of this year, it made sense to maybe approach this as an ARPA fund request. So I brought it to the Board of Selectmen and we discussed it and voted on it. And we'd like to bring $7,500 to the Board of Finance for approval for the ESO software for the fire company. And that's the only two requests I have.
Thank you, Bob. No, I think
you have a copy of that ESO previous at a previous meeting that you received that, and then the one I sent out today. So thank you.
Thank you. No, the first one, I think that fits right in with what these ARPA funds are all about, right? Trying to help people who need the help in this crazy pandemic time for sure. And I love the way you presented the single use funds for the fire department too, those one-offs. I never like to see those things part of this, the line item on a budget year after year. So that's great. So what questions for First Selectman Carlson does the board have? Mike?
I'm just gonna make a motion to approve the use of $5,000 of the ARPA funds for the United Community and Family Services.
No,
Dan second.
Was there a second?
Dan Smith.
Dan Smith? Yeah, no, that's great. Any so discussion at this point?
Yeah, open it for discussion.
Yeah, so any thoughts on that from anybody on the Board of Finance? I did say my little piece. I thought they were both good ways to use these dollars, but I'd like to hear any other comments.
UCFS is a fantastic organization. I know they serve Norwich. They have a facility in Griswold. And they just take care of a lot of people that can't afford to go out elsewhere. It's a fantastic organization. So I'm all for it. Go ahead, Gary.
Any trailing year-over-year maintenance associated with the fire company? The 7,500?
We haven't gotten there yet. We're discussing.
I thought you were doing it all at once. I'm sorry.
I only moved for the first one.
Okay.
Sorry.
So based on that, if there wasn't anything more, we can go ahead and take it to a vote for the first one. All in favor of the $5,000 presented by Bob Carlson for $5,000 for United Community and Family Services, signify by saying aye.
We have eyes all here at Winona.
Aye.
Aye, fantastic. I think that's unanimous, and that is 6 of us here now with
Yes.
Yes.
6-0-0. Thank you very much. Mike, you're on a roll. Any decision?
I will make a motion to approve use of $7,500 of the ARPA funds for the North Stonington Volunteer Fire Company ESO software. Second by Dan Smith.
And again, thank you very much. Any discussion?
Gary, go ahead.
Any year-over-year maintenance costs associated with 7,500 forward?
According to the fire department, no, it's a one-time purchase.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? All in favor of approving $7,500 for software upgrades to the North Stonington Volunteer Fire Department from ARPA funds, signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. I count 3. Mike, you see 3 more there?
We're all, it's all eyes here, which is gonna Winona.
Aye.
Great. Vote is 6-0-0. The motion is approved.
Okay, the next time I come in front of you will be a much bigger number. All right, so that concludes what I had to do there. So we have future strategies, which you asked me to stay for last time, if you're willing to stay again, and then after that comes adjournment. So do you have future strategies this evening?
Yep, great. Thank you for that. So again, we continue to hear presentations from our Bob's departments, Board of Selectmen's departments. Board of Education, I think, is the big one still out there, and that's, I think I see Christine Wagner. I think they're on the schedule, Christine Diaz, for a week after next. Is that right?
March 9th. I
They're March
believe.
9th. Board of Selectmen present to you on March 2nd, and then Board of Ed presents on March 9th.
March 9th, great. So I know we're gathering numbers. Presentations were given for grand list growth, automobile tax growth, other items that look directionally correct for those of us that understand that term.
Excuse me, Paul, could you repeat those presentations and the dates again, please?
The second Board of Selectmen will present March 2nd. And Board of Education, March 9th.
Thank you.
Sorry, I lost my screen here for a moment. There we go. Thank you. So I'm not sure what else, team, we could talk about beyond, while we're still gathering these numbers. We're looking forward to get the whole picture in front of us so we can make good decisions about what we must do for getting an acceptable budget to the town. Anybody else have any thoughts on that?
Just, can you set up the calendar one more time for us? Thank you. And just, I know Sarah sent out the some type of budgeting tool, an Excel budgeting tool. Gary, what, didn't she put a?
She did. I saw that. I saw that come out. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't seem to find that. So if
George,
one,
dig it up. I'll dig it up, Mike, and send it to you.
all right, thanks.
So Paul, if you're completed, I'm going to adjourn the board. of
Yeah,
Selectmen.
please. No, that was it. I mean, we're still gathering data. I don't know that we can really solve anything here tonight, but feel free to adjourn, Bob.
Okay, can I hear a motion?
I make a motion to adjourn the Board of Selectmen meeting.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Board of Finance.
Good night. So Board of Finance, I'd ask again, any other discussion you think we might need to have tonight before getting more data from Board of Selectmen and Board of Education?
I just have a question. Can we be reminded of the meeting dates in the month of March for the Board of Finance, please?
They actually go monthly, if I'm not mistaken, starting in March.
You mean weekly?
I think
I
Christine's
do
gonna send
mean
out the
weekly.
calendar.
Yeah, I'll send out the budget calendar. The ones on the town website they are your official meetings, but there are going to be some additional special meetings because of the budget calendar. So I will send an email out tomorrow with all of that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. So with that, friends, I too would entertain a motion to adjourn if there is one.
Gary motions to adjourn, and I seconded it.
Okay, let's vote it. Mike, count them off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very, very much. We'll we'll talk to you soon.